Hello and welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I am Lauren Lyman.
And I'm Tracy Schnabel.
And today we are almost getting ready for Christmas here, and we are going to be talking about lies that modern medicine is telling you and ways that you can heal yourself through ancient strategies. So it gets a little bit into the realm of Jesus, which is why we're doing it at Christmas time, so you can heal like Jesus did. But whether or not you're religious is irrelevant because, again, these are ancient strategies that a lot of people used, and it wasn't until a couple hundred years ago that we really stopped using these strategies in this country. So why is that? What lies are you being told, and how can you get back to healing yourself so that you're not always relying on a really expensive healthcare system? So before we get started, we just want to say again, we are two occupational therapists who noticed a gap in the healthcare system. We want to help you bridge this gap, and we think this video is really going to be a great way to do that. And before we get started, we have a disclaimer, a legal disclaimer. This is for informational purposes only. So if you do have specific medical concerns, please bring them to your doctor and consult with your doctor. And we don't have any warranties or representations, so please proceed at your own risk. And if you're having a medical emergency, as always, call 911.
One of the lies is, Lauren, that we can just kind of blindly trust the government and insurance companies to have our best interest at heart. And the main thing is we have a capitalistic society, which is good for some things because there's some freedom and how we can have business and things like that. But for healthcare, it can be kind of tricky because we're talking about people's lives, women, men, children, okay? So they're not always, the government and the insurance companies aren't always going to have your interest 100% of the time when it comes to healthcare. So you just kind of have to be, okay, now I know that. Now I need to maybe do some research on my own, like this channel. So good job. Okay, so that's the one that we could just blindly trust, like government and insurance, to have our totally best interest at heart. Not true.
Because they have to make money. They have to make a living too, right? So healthcare is expensive. So it's hard to provide the best care and make money at the same time. It's tricky.
It's two interests kind of conflicting. So we have to be empowered to know that. And then the system will drive based off of what you know. Okay, so that's important that you know something and more than what you've just been blindly taught. So the next thing, too, that we've been taught is you're dependent on your medical providers for healing 100%. Okay, so I think a lot of us just listen to our doctor, whatever that they say. And I'm not saying that your doctor hasn't gone through a lot of education and they don't have good interest at heart. They don't know everything. They might have not studied these ancient secrets that we're going to tell you, or they might not have been keen to this new research that we have been doing just because we have an interest in it. So that's why it's important to be empowered with information.
And I think to expand on that, check out our video about how the U.S. healthcare system, how allopathic medicine got started, because it was all about money. So it wasn't that these other strategies weren't working. It was that they were too cheap to make money from. So that's kind of how our system is built on corruption, unfortunately. And it's kind of become one of those things, this is the way we've always done it, and it just continues. So we think that doctors and nurses and medical professionals are fantastic. We love what you're doing. Keep it up. But we think that they're doing the best they can with the information they've been taught. And that's the problem, that we aren't teaching any of these other strategies anymore.
Right, like let thy food be your medicine, one of those ancient secrets. And I don't think that's included enough in the current healthcare system, which is why we have this channel.
And remember, prevention is cheaper than treatment and also less taxing on you. I mean, would you rather take the time now to prevent an illness or have to deal with it later on and be suffering and spend money and time and independence on that issue?
And another lie is that thoughts don't really matter. I mean, we don't really talk about this, but we have I forgot what it was, millions of thoughts a day, tons of them, and they all impact our daily life. So we kind of think that the things that we're saying to ourselves don't affect us. So in society, a lot of times we're kind of critical of each other and of ourselves. Like, you're not good enough. You have to look at this person and be like them, and you have to compare. But really, you should only be comparing yourself to yourself because you're an individual. And so you have to pay attention to what you're telling yourself. You should be telling yourself positive things every day. But kind of we've been ingrained in society actually to tell ourselves bad things. If we say positive things, it's like, oh, you're conceited or you're vain, you know. But we should be building ourselves up, not in a narcissistic way, but in a positive way so that we can go out and make our dreams happen. But first, we have to like have good thoughts to actually have good actions, right?
And we'll also put the link to the healthcare video. We'll also put a link to our video on gratitude at the end of this if you want to check it out.
Yeah. Oh, and the next one, what you say has no power. Like, what your words are so powerful. And I think we talk about this in our other episodes, but we don't really understand how powerful it is. Jesus actually said that words can either bring death or life. And that's actually very true. If you think about it, there was this one guy, I think I talked about in another episode too, is he was suicidal. And he said if one person would have said something to him on the bus before he literally jumped off a bridge and he recovered and made it his life's mission to talk to people about this. But if one person would have said something to him that day, he wouldn't have done it. So our words literally can bring life or death, but I think we walk around thinking like, oh, there's nothing that I could say that's going to make a difference. That's not true. So just think about that for a while. The next thing is meditation, is just for hippies. So we kind of think like meditation, ooh, like whatever, you know, they just kind of do that in the East, or maybe it's just a modern fad with yoga now and it doesn't really have an impact. But meditation has been shown to have so many positive effects, you know, on anxiety, on like your thought processes, on healing in your body. So it really does help. And I think in today's modern culture where we're like running around and we don't clear our minds ever, we think that it's kind of crazy to sit there and just clear our minds.
We're not living in the moment anymore. You know, I mean, when you're at work, you have to be in the moment doing things, but in general, we focus so much on, oh, I have to do all this later, I have to do this tomorrow. And then when you're sitting down, even if you're sitting down relaxing, watching TV, your mind's racing with things that you should be doing or things you have to be doing. So meditation really forces you to just not only clear your mind, but stay present in the moment. Feel your surroundings. Be in the present moment. And that has a lot of health benefits.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about later too. And then the next thing I think that we've been told is an eye for an eye is okay, right? So this idea like, you hurt me, so I get to be mean to you. Or you did something to me, so I'm going to get you back. Or, you know, this just, again, that competitive attitude and that vengeance. And that like anger in your heart and that attitude kind of will kill you. So it's really unhealthy for yourself individually and for society. But we kind of have that mentality, you know, like we just have to like have this kind of survival mentality. Mm-hmm. And really it's not a very higher, enlightened, happy state to be in, to think that way. So that's one of the lies I think that we've been told since we're younger, either subconsciously or consciously. And then it's all about me, which kind of goes along with that. So the me generation, right? So with the Facebook and the, you know, trying to buy all these nice clothes and have this amazing car and have the best house and show off everything to everybody, you know, it's all about you generation and nobody else matters. And, you know, climbing the corporate ladder thing too, like I'm going to just push anybody over and it doesn't matter because it's all about me. That's not healthy either for you or for society to think that way. We were talking about gratitude for Thanksgiving in one of our other videos, and a lot of the attitude of gratitude comes from gratefulness for others. And if we're just focused on ourselves, we can't really be grateful for others, and then we're not seeing all the beautiful things people are doing for us and how they're contributing to our lives and our happiness. And we kind of push people away then because we're putting out a negative vibe. We don't want to do that. We want to attract people. We want to attract love.
And people who are less grateful tend to have higher levels of anxiety and depression and tend to be easily addicted to drugs.
Yeah, and not blaming anybody that, has anxiety or depression or drug addiction. It's just a cycle, right? Again, back to the thoughts don't matter. If we get into the cycle of having negative thoughts, it's just kind of like a domino. Remember the game Dominoes, it all flats. So it just keeps spiraling and spiraling. So you have to really, mindfulness is important, right? You have to be paying attention to those thoughts and reframe them and try to have more positive thoughts. And by focusing on positive things, that will help. It's not easy, but it's just something to be aware of. And that's why meditation helps too, because you're actually practicing clearing your mind regularly and building each day. And then another thing is that we have to be worried all the time. And that's either a subconscious program. I think, we have to be constantly like thinking about the future and am I enough? And am I doing enough? And all these lists of things we have to accomplish. It kind of makes it difficult to be in the now, right? And something really profound I heard one time is anxiety is worrying about the future, and depression is like about worrying about the past. So not living in the present. And in the Bible, it actually says, worry will not add one day to your life. And one of my patients actually told me that, because I get worried about things. I mean, I'm not saying because I'm telling you these things, I'm not saying I'm like 100% at everything, but it's because I've experienced these things as well. And my patient was like, don't you know that it says that worry will not add one day to your life? And worry actually steals our life. Mm-hmm. So we have to stop thinking that we have to be so worried all the time about everything and just take a breath. So that's, again, why meditation is good.
So it not only steals in the way of like taking you away from the present moment, but literally steals days off of your life, because when you're stressed, that has a physiological impact on your body, and it's not good, and it can strip days, years off of your life.
Yeah, literally. And I think that we don't understand how profound these effects can be on us. And a lot of times we don't incorporate it as medical professionals into our evaluations. Like, is this person having high blood pressure? Is this person having a heart attack? Is this person having whatever illness because maybe they worry too much? Did I ask them, hey, do you worry about things? How do you manage stress? How are you feeling about this visit right now? Like, we need to be asking those questions of our patients. So now for the next part of our episode is what Jesus taught us about healing. And we have some unbelievable gifts given to us to heal, and we don't realize it. And he was saying these things, but I think that like we just aren't picking up on it because you only know what you know at the time. So if you kind of look at it from a different lens, you can be like, whoa, this is incredible. So listen to this. This is going to shock you. So he talks about the third eye. When I was reading the Bible, I was like, oh, I better read this just so that I know. And then I was like, wow, it was coinciding with a lot of other Eastern teachings that I was learning at the time. The third eye, if you don't know what the third eye is, so a lot of cultures talk about it's like a shift in your consciousness. So you're not only just seeing like through your two eyes here, but you're seeing through another eye, an eye of enlightenment and understanding how the world works and functions. So he talked about it, and he said, the light of the body is in thine eye. He said singular eye. Therefore, thine eye be single, thy whole body be full of light. So light, enlightenment is feeling, your energetic body and feeling the spirit and feeling that higher level of thinking. So he was talking about it. We just didn't get it. I didn't get it when I was younger. So I thought it was interesting.
So how do you get that third eye to work? Because a lot of us don't use our third eye. I'll admit I wasn't at all. I'm trying to more now, but I wasn't at all. And there are some things like fluoride contamination, fluoride in our water, fluoride in our toothpaste. There's something called a pineal gland in your brain, and that controls your third eye. And fluoride is a neurotoxin we're now discovering, and it actually reduces the capacity of your pineal gland to work. So it shuts off that third eye, that sense of enlightenment. And if you're in a chronic state of stress and worry and, that fight or flight state of being, that shuts off certain parts of your brain because evolutionarily speaking, if you're running from a bear, do you need to be enlightened while you're running from a bear? No, you need to have your cortisol levels up and you need to get out of there, right? So those parts of your brain shut off. So now when you're chronically stressed out over work and money and all these other things, you're in that same state that you would be in if you were running from a bear. So again, certain parts of your brain shut off. Your pineal gland is one of those.
Right. So, and we talked earlier episodes about how your glands are connected to your emotions. So that's why we need to be incorporating emotions into healthcare and be more in tune with our feeling and our energetic bodies, our emotional and spiritual bodies. It's a huge part of health. And Jesus was talking about this, but again, I think we weren't getting it because it's so counterculture, right? So
it's very abstract to us because we're all like, I don't feel good. Where's the medication? I have a headache. Where's the medication? I have a stomach ache. Where's the medication? We want to fix everything with medication. I'm depressed. Where's the medication? And I'm not saying if you're one of these people, that's just what we were taught. And I was one of those people too. The first sign of a headache, give me some ibuprofen. That was me. And now I found other ways to deal with it. And I haven't taken a single medication since my son's been born. He's 18 months old. So, and I'm doing just fine because I found other strategies. So for me, do I want to take medications with all these side effects, or do I want to learn ancient healing strategies so that I can really be healthy and be my full self? We are not our full selves when our pineal glands are shut off.
We're not a constant state of worry, right? And anxiety. How can you fulfill like what your soul wants you to be or what your inner self is if you're constantly in a state of crisis? You can't even relax to think about the future or to think about your true self or what you really want because you're constantly just afraid of being attacked by the bear. So that's something that they were trying to teach us. And I'm not just saying, Jesus was saying, it was in Asian teachings. It was in Buddhist teachings. It was tons of philosophers and religions have this in there. And it could profoundly impact us if we just really looked into it a little bit more. But we're also taught that these things are just not real. So it's kind of sad. And
just proof that their pineal gland was working. If you look at, if you Google images of the third eye, it looks just like a pineal gland in your brain. They weren't breaking apart people's skulls and looking at their brains back then. They were preserving their bodies. So how did they know this?
They talked about it too, in Egyptian cultures, they have it in different art forms engraved the shape of the pineal gland. And a lot of the Egyptian cultures had a lot of things that we don't understand to this day, even with healing, sound healing, and architecture and astronomy. And so there's a lot of secrets to the past, why it's so important to be open to other views, be open to different teachings, and be open to, history, and not always thinking we're better than everybody else and we know better. That's why it's so important to be open. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. Belief can heal. So I think a lot of people underplay the power of belief, right? Even I myself understand that belief is really important, but I know I need to grow in this area. So in the Bible, there was this woman where she was bleeding all the time, constantly. She had some kind of problem with her menstrual cycle. And in those days, it was a woman that's bleeding all the time, she had to be separated from society. And she found out about Jesus coming into the town, and she went and she ran to him, and she just knew that if she could even just touch him, that he was so holy and so amazing that she would be healed. And so when she touched him, he said, your belief has healed you, my child. You can go ahead and go forth and not be ashamed, anymore, not have to live the same life. So I think when I heard this when I was younger, I was just oh, okay, cool. Jesus, helped this lady that was bleeding all the time, But I think the key there, again, after studying these other teaching, is that he said it was your belief that has healed you, my child. He made her say, it was me. He knew actually who it was, but he made her say it was me in front of the crowd. And so you have to be confident in your belief, and your belief can heal you.
And if you think Tracy's totally crazy, let me give you a little science.
Many do.
Let me back it up with a little science. So if you've ever heard of the placebo effect, That is basically, if we give you a sugar pill, but we say that this pill is going to decrease your anxiety, we will actually see your anxiety decrease. It's called the placebo effect. You think that you're going to be getting better, so you actually get better. So it's been proven scientifically in our modern medical society. It is a thing. We call it the placebo effect now, but it's the concept that you have the ability to heal yourself.
You do, yeah. And modern medical society too, there's also, my mentor at the hospital told me that there was a continuing education conference where the doctors used to come in and educate all the staff. And in his experience, he saw this to be real, the power of belief. You have a patient with stage 3 cancer, and then you have a patient with stage 1 cancer. And the patient with the stage 1 cancer, if they have a bad belief about what their prognosis is going to be, if they're like, oh, why does this always happen to me? This is just going to get worse. I don't really believe that I will get better. And then you have somebody that has stage 3 cancer and they're like, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to, eat all the right foods. I'm going to, do all my yoga or my meditation, whatever spiritual practice they believe. I'm going to have all my family gang around me for support. I'm going to beat this. Said the person with the stage 3 cancer would improve, and he'd see people with stage 1 cancer with a bad attitude decline. And I saw this too. So the power of belief is extremely incredible.
And not only is it just that you believe you're going to get better, but look at all the other things she said. I'm going to surround myself with support, love. I'm going to start eating better. So if you are feeling better, think about when you're in a really bad mood. You don't want to be around people. You don't want to eat healthy, right? So it kind of is, again, another domino effect, a downward spiral. But if you're feeling better, if you're feeling motivated to and believing that you can heal, you start making a lot of better health decisions, and you start seeking out support and spending time with people you love and making these memories, and psychologically you feel better, physically you feel better, and then you actually get better.
So that's pretty incredible, right? I mean, like you guys have heard too, like the faith of a mustard seed. So even like just a small belief can go a very long way. So we were created really as these really incredible beings with incredible powers. So that's been underplayed. Use them. It's been strongly underplayed so that we could be, I think, controlled in some ways. So it's important that people know this, and that's why we have dedicated part of our lives to doing this channel. So the next thing that I kind of talked about earlier too is thoughts are significant. Like, again, people think that thoughts are not significant. And we were talking about with how many thoughts you have in a day, how could they not be? And we both took psychology in college, and I learned, psychotherapy, they were saying really didn't have any proof for improving or declining the patient. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then later on, when I was getting my master's, I found out about cognitive behavioral therapy. And that whole cognitive behavioral therapy is how our thoughts impact our actions, right? So if I think that, I can't ever go to a party and socialize and maybe meet somebody at a party, I'm never going to go to that party. Like if I'm thinking negative thoughts, like no one's going to talk to me there, no one's going to like me, it's never going to be a good time because in the past I've always had a bad time when I'm in a social setting. You have to reframe it. And if you reframe it, your actions will be different. So if I say, oh, maybe this time will be different than the other times. Maybe I will meet somebody. Maybe I'll find people that are more like me at this party. I'll be more likely to go. So your thoughts have a huge impact on your behavior. And I think that's why cognitive behavioral therapy has such good success rates as compared to other traditional therapies. So thoughts are powerful again. And Jesus talked about that too in a lot of his teachings. There was one teaching where he said, and again, I didn't get it before, he was saying, before it was said in the law that if you cheat, on your spouse, you have violated the law. But he said, if you even think about cheating on your spouse, it's as if you had already done it. Because I think he was trying to emphasize how powerful our thoughts are on our reality. So, and I think we don't get it, but thoughts are incredibly powerful. So mind your thoughts. And then the next thing is, again, I talked about before, words have a larger impact than we realize. So Mr. Emoto from Japan talked about, he did an experiment with saying things negative over water, and then saying positive, like this prayer, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, over the water, and then looking under a microscope after he froze it to see the crystalline structures. And the crystalline structures were far more beautiful with the positive words than with the negative. This has also been done in a lot of plant experiments.
And by beautiful, they were symmetrical.
Yes.
They were perfect. They were symmetrical. But the ones that received all the hateful words, they were disorganized. They didn't look like much of anything. Very asymmetrical.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't, again, this abstract thing. There's a material thing that's happening in our world on our actual structure. And our bodies are how much water, Lauren?
60%.
60% water. So just imagine how much our words are impacting our structure. It's just food for thought, right? And then hands can heal, right? So it's said a lot of times, like, Jesus laid his hands over people. Now, I didn't realize till later, when I had discovered all these other cultures and things, that hands really do heal. There's a practice called Reiki, and we've mentioned it a couple of times. We'll maybe talk about it in a future video, where the practitioner puts their hands over the person at different energetic spots in the body, and they basically, the person kind of like is in a meditative state for about an hour. And then, you get up, and I've experienced it, and I've become a Reiki practitioner. And it's powerful, but it's so counterculture, right? So like people really think like, what are you just putting your hands over different spots? But I've seen time after time incredible results from people, especially with anxiety and depression. It may just be even that, like, just being able to relax and take a breath for a while. Maybe a positive intention, like we're saying, like our frequencies are affecting each other, and we have an electrical body. So where your focus goes, energy flows. So if I'm thinking about just sending you love and positive frequencies, that can also impact your electrical body, right? So I think that's really how the science and the earlier teachings really kind of combine here when we're understanding the electrical body and the metaphysical space.
So I'm going to bring this to something a little more concrete. Like, that's great,
Thanks.
But I think a lot of people aren't going to relate to that because, again, you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
So let's bring it to something more concrete. So think about if somebody's in a bad mood and they come home from work, and how do you respond to that? Do you just, A, whatever, I'm not picking up on that, I don't want that, or B, does it put you kind of in a bad mood? Those are two different types of people. Person A, who says, I don't want your bad energy, is literally saying, I don't want your bad energy. Their bad energy, their frequencies are bouncing off of you. You're not accepting them. Person B is absorbing. We call these empaths. You absorb other people's energy. So when someone comes home happy, it kind of makes you happy. When someone comes home mad, okay, you're getting a little upset. And it's good to be an empath, but it's also very hard because you're taking on everyone else's emotions, and that's a lot. So Reiki, you're agreeing to take on this other person's frequency, their healing emotions that they're emitting and passing on to you. You're absorbing those into your body. Same concept, but now we're taking it from you had a bad day, you're making me have a bad day, to I'm going to heal you with my thoughts and my feelings in my hands.
And it's kind of like taking the energy and transmuting it, because they're also, the practitioner, before they start, asks like the earth to be able to work with you to help provide the energy for healing as well. So we're talking about grounding and the earth's charge and how it interacts with the body. And you guys have heard of this too, like walking barefooted outside, how that helps, how being in nature. So the practitioner will actually ask nature to help with that, so that you're not totally taking it on. And again, this sounds wild, but look up grounding and look up nature and just think about how it's helped you.
Watch our video, Humans as Electrical Beings, if you want to learn more about this. We are electrical beings. Our frequencies are an extension of the Earth's frequencies. When there's a full moon, we get a little cuckoo because literally the Earth's frequencies change, and so do ours. So there's science to back up all of this stuff. We just aren't taught.
It's counterculture. It's counter to what you've been told. But that doesn't mean that it's crazy. It doesn't mean that it's not true. That's why we just ask you always to have an open mind, because there's a whole world of things out there if you keep an open mind to it. And then also just think about like manual therapy or massage therapy, how great that feels. I wasn't traditionally taught in school that, but I learned it as I went along, because I realized with my patients how impactful it was on their psychological, physiological, spiritual well-being. The hands really do have an impact. Touch. Think about how important touch is to humans. We can't live without it. Babies need to be held, and if they've been in a situation where they haven't had a solid attachment, in order to recuperate their social and emotional functioning, even their physiological functioning, we need to touch and hold them.
Look at babies in the NICU. Finally in the 2000s we're saying babies in the NICU need to be held. Don't just leave them in the box and hope that they survive. And I know that sounds really terrible, but it is terrible, and that's what's been happening. Now they're actually saying they need to be on your chest and hear your heartbeat and be loved and be held, because touch is healing, and babies, their survival rates are higher when they're held after birth.
So it's not such a wild idea. Again, it's just different than what you've heard or known before, possibly.
And we're coming around in small ways, not like huge, like you can heal yourself ways, but like, oh, baby's in the NICU, and okay, hug for at least 30 seconds and it'll have a good impact on you. So we're coming around, but we want to say like, hey, it doesn't stop in the NICU. It doesn't stop with a hug. This has like immense potential, and we need to unlock that potential and utilize it.
Or even look at the elderly. Like if they're left alone, their health declines, or people that have depression, like they end up being more isolated than other people, because we need to be surrounded by people. We need to have love and affection for us to be able to function, because that's how we are designed.
We consider homes and food and water as our main foundation for survival, but love and support are also huge parts of survival. And our interview with the it's all coming together. Our interview with the naturopath, you can look that up too. She talks about a lot of these things too.
Yeah, and Lauren also talked about how we were in groups in order to survive, in early civilization. Packs. We're in packs.
We're like wolves in a pack. That's how we survived.
That's still how we are. We need others to survive, evolutionarily, spiritually, so many different ways. So it makes so much sense when you learn about that or think about that from that perspective. And then again, that meditation is essential. So Jesus also was always saying, like, I need to be separated from the crowd. There was quite a few times in the Bible where he's like, whoa, I need to go be out by myself. And I didn't think of anything at the time. I just thought, oh, wow, he must have been really annoyed with all these people wanting things from him, and me too, but no, like, you need to clear your mind, like we were talking about earlier, in order for you to have that pineal gland activated, in order for you to use your prefrontal cortex, in order for you to see things from a higher, elevated perspective. Otherwise, you're just kind of in it. I don't know if you've had things thrown at you during a work day or a regular day or whatever, and things are being thrown at you. Eventually, you're just kind of like, I can't deal with it. So you need to really take time to decompress so that you can have that perspective and open up that gland and open up that higher consciousness. Forgiveness and mercy will liberate you. So this is in a lot of teachings, not just Jesus, but a lot of different teachings, Eastern teachings and things too. I took a class when I was in New Zealand about the power of forgiveness, because they had us read a whole book before we started the class, and the book was about the spirit of offense. So a lot of times we get so mad and hang on to so many things from like family, friends, even strangers. I know, like, I've thought about a stranger, something they said to me like 5 years ago, and wasted so much time on it. But if you really think about it, hurt people, right? So people treat you basically how they treat themselves. Like if somebody's not happy with themselves, they kind of are going to take it out on other people. So it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. And we just take everything so personally. Like, they treated me this way because I'm not good enough, or they treated me this way because they don't like me, or they treated me this way because they're not hearing me and I'm not expressing myself well enough. But a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. Your opinion of me has nothing to do with me.
And my health and my happiness and my stress, the changes I saw when I shifted from why is this person being mean to me? Why is this happening to me? Why me? And I shifted to, wow, like, what is going on in that person's head that's making them so mean?
Yeah.
Right? And like, it almost makes you not only forgive them, but feel sorry for them. Like, wow, what are they struggling with that they feel the need to be so mean? Because again, I truly do not believe that people are innately bad. I think that things happen to them, and that shapes how they end up behaving and treating other people. And it's unfortunate because their behavior is a direct reflection of, how they're feeling, what they think about themselves, and the pain that they carry.
Yeah, another thing Jesus said, and I keep bringing it up because the quotes are so powerful, is guard your heart, because everything that you will say and do will flow from it. So if you have a hurt or dark or damaged heart, however you want to phrase it, everything coming out of your mouth is going to be a reflection of that. So instead of me thinking like, oh, there's something wrong with my heart, or something wrong with how I'm treating you, or something wrong with what's happening here, it's just a reflection of what's going on internally. And forgiveness has a huge impact on the way you see the world and how you relate to others and how your body is functioning, right? Because if I'm carrying the weight of the world all the time on my shoulders and just thinking everybody's against me and nobody likes me and this person is, a reflection of my self-esteem, or I'll allow others on the outside to control how I feel on the inside, I'm never going to be happy. So we just have to forgive them and have mercy on people, and then forgiveness will really have a profound effect on our hearts and how we live. And
more importantly, forgive yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Past anything that you've done, forgive yourself. Move on. Live in the present. Don't, like Tracy said, if you live in the past, you will be depressed. Live in the present. Appreciate the past for what it is, for what the good memories, for what the bad things have taught you. Learn from it and move on. Don't perseverate on things that you no longer have control over, or you will not be happy.
Yeah, your past doesn't have to be a life sentence, so you don't have to be dictated to by whatever happened in the past. You can create your creator, so you can create your own future.
And mental health, again, impacts your physical health. So not only will you be unhappy, but you can start having physical problems from that.
Oh, yeah. Think about ulcers. Think about headaches. I think those are the most ones. Think about intestinal problems. That happens when we're
and those are the more obvious ones, but stress, that fight or flight, what happens is it elevates your cortisol levels. But cortisol causes inflammation of the body, diffuse all over the body. So if you're chronically stressed, then you're chronically inflamed. And inflammation is the root cause to so many different health problems, from like eczema to cancer. Yeah. Everything.
Huge.
So think about your quality of life. If you're dying in old age, great. If you're dying because you're dealing with this health problem for 30 years, who wants to live like that?
So yeah, instead of prescribing a medication for, acid reflux or whatever, you might want to be asking the patient, like, okay, how are you dealing with stress? How are you dealing with anxiety? How are you dealing with life? Because then we're only treating superficially. So that's the whole goal with this channel, is just to show you how we could shift our consciousness in one direction and really have a world and a wealth of health just from a small shift. Okay, another one, love is powerful. Jesus gave up his life for others, and was incredibly powerful on the influence that had throughout history and in the time itself that he lived. And loneliness, really, lack of love, like we were talking about earlier, it kills. We went to this conscious eating lecture, and they found people that eat alone die alone. So it's really important to have love in your life, because it is incredibly powerful. And also, loving yourself and loving others. Again, sometimes we discount how much of an impact we can have on other people, and we just expressing the love we have for them can make a huge difference in their life and health.
And they've actually found that being lonely and kind of being not only on your own, but the feeling of loneliness can increase your incidence of heart disease, which obviously causes problems like heart attacks and things.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Your body kind of talks in symbols, and we don't really realize that, a broken heart can actually lead to a broken heart. But we've so disassociated our emotions from our body that we're not getting the most obvious signs. Like, hello, wake up. I'm trying to tell you something.
Yes. And again, Dr. Kanoy said in our interview with the naturopath, she said that love and support are a foundation of health.
Yes. And then the attitude of gratitude is important too. And again, this was done in a lot of prayers, and ancient prayers and modern prayers, is just like thanking God or thanking the universe or thanking your family for everything that you have, because that kind of shifts your focus from a lack to an abundance. Like, I have so many good things, have so much stuff to be grateful for, and that kind of lets your body also relax and release, and your brain's releasing, like positive chemicals when you're in that kind of state. So that's why gratitude is so important. So when your family tells you to say thank you, it's not just to be polite. And then we kind of talked about this before too. Life is not in the past or the future, it's in the now. So Jesus also said the kingdom of God is at hand. And I think a lot of people don't get this, and I'm not saying that I have the all-knowing everything, but I think what he meant by at hand is everything is happening right now. I read true stories about kids that have died and came back with this message that everything is happening right now. So you literally could create your own hell by viewing everybody as evil and everything that ever happened to you like you're the victim and life is bad. Or you could create heaven and be like, wow, I had some really bad experiences, but it really taught me a lot. From this experience, I could teach other people things that I learned, and I can really make an impact on other families, and maybe they won't have to struggle as much. It can be so powerful, that shift and how you view things for your life, your health, and your relationships. They're telling us this, but I don't think we're getting it. And I think that if we incorporated these wisdom teachings into healthcare, we could have totally different results. And that concludes for our Christmas episode.
Okay. So thank you all for listening. If you could please like our video, subscribe to our channel, share our video, sign up for alerts, visit us at www.facebook.com/Lauren and Tracy. And send us an email at alive2thriveot@gmail.com, because we do have a whole food nutritional product that we recommend for everybody to improve your physical, mental health. And
we are wishing you physical, emotional, and spiritual health. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and thank you for being here and keeping an open mind.
Yes, take care.
Bye-bye.